This is the Randomer Nintendo podcast, episode 54. Crap, when's this going live? Tomorrow's the 17th? October 17th.
Yeah, tomorrow's 17th. Yeah.
October 17th. I am one of your hosts, Kevin. To my virtual left, as always, is Jason.
Checking the calendar. Tomorrow's the 17th. Yep.
And to my virtual right is Angel.
That's me, Angel.
That's a him. I'm looking at the docket. This might as well just be a random Nintendo podcast.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You know, we don't have a lot. Well, we have a lot. It's just a lot of Nintendo.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, if you looked at this docket we have, like, 20 years ago...
Did you mean that as in, like, because there's so few topics, or because it's basically on Nintendo?
It's basically
It's
all
all
Nintendo.
Nintendo.
No, there's a couple of things. No, there's one thing at the top of the docket that isn't Nintendo.
But it's funny that if you look back, like, if you looked at this in 2005, or 2004 would be 20 years ago, and you said, oh, yeah, Nintendo announced an alarm clock, put out a Lego set, have Pikmin Sushi collabs, and are playtesting a secret new online feature.
Don't spoil what's on the docket.
I'm just saying none of that was plausible 20 years ago, like, or even 10 years ago. Like, it's around Nintendo of this time versus of that time. It's so weird how, like, on Nintendo this would have been any other year. Yeah.
So anyways, you're probably hearing this on Thursday, which is 2 days later than we usually would post an episode up. Does anybody want to explain why?
I can explain the second of two delays, but Angel's responsible for the first. Kevin, you've been so good. You've just been waiting for us to be like, let's record now. But yeah, Angel was the first problem. I was the second problem. Angel, why couldn't you do Monday? And then I could share why I couldn't do Tuesday.
I don't remember.
Well, clearly it was a very exciting thing you did in that case.
Yeah, I don't, actually.
Well, that's fine. So
That's
does anybody want to explain why?
That's kind of concerning, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it helps, Angel, I think you had the day off. It was Columbus/Indigenous Peoples Day. Did that jog anything?
Yes. Oh,
Let's go
that's
with that.
right. Yeah, I was just out and about all day. That's right. Because I'm all like, wait, if it's a normal work day, why wouldn't I be able to do the podcast? But that's right. I forgot it was a longer weekend. So yeah.
Because your employer is very nice. My employer did not give me the day off. So
Yeah. It's just out and about, relaxing, running some errands, but they did kind of ended up running a little late. And it was just kind of nice just to, kind of keep that routine, if that makes any sense, where if I don't have work, I kind of just get to prep for work the next day versus I come from work and still prep for work the next day. But I can do podcasts after work. It's just a shifting gears thing. It's a lot easier for me to do podcasts after work than it is on a day where I have nothing.
reading between the lines, it sounds like you're saying the podcast to you is work versus leisure, which is fair.
It's somewhere in between. If you look at my handy dandy dry erase calendar that I always have on my board, I have like things kind of color coded. Things that are green are, I guess, like inconsequential. Definitely not inconsequential. They're like
Inconsequential. That's dramatic.
Yeah, because that almost would sound mean, but it's more like things that are not normally scheduled, but they're like one-off events. Yeah, we'll call like one-off events, even though there's a lot of them, like, concerts, hangouts with you guys, screenings at movies, that kind of stuff. Work, is one color. And then I have semi-regularly scheduled stuff that I guess that is more 100% voluntary. Kind of like the baseball, the yoga, some of the other extracurricular activities that I do that, I do just because I want to. Like,
and
I don't
what
have
color
to go.
is that?
Like there's no, those are blue. Like,
okay.
No one is keeping raw or anything. It's just, I just do it because I want to. And then we have, I guess, the stuff that is, for lack of a better term, I guess, like set in stone as much as possible. Work is brown. I don't know what you want to make do with that. It's chocolate. I like chocolate. But yeah, podcast
I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with chocolate, Angel. Yeah.
And then we have podcast, which is a very passionate and loving red. That
it gets its own color.
Well, yeah, they all get.
I will point out
the one-off events the one-off events are green. The semi-scheduled stuff is blue. Work is brown, and podcast is red. It pops. It really stands out.
It also
it's only once
matches
every 2 weeks. I want to make sure
logo.
I don't. Oh yes, let's go with that.
Yeah, that's clearly what you were doing. Clearly.
Yeah. Clearly. Any doodle.
So that's why we hit delay number 1, I guess, and then delay number 2 was all me. I don't know if anyone's familiar out there with the. I know you guys know because I tell you about them, but I don't know if anyone out there is familiar with the band Fantagram. They have an album out tonight, as of the time you listen to this. A band called Fantagram. They have hits from back in like the early 2010s. They continue to exist.
Villain
called like
of the third Mario Luigi game.
No, no, it's not. But
Luigi's
you may know
Dream Team?
Fantagram for such songs as no, it's not that as Blackout Days and Fall in Love and When I'm Small. But anyway, they have an album coming out within 24 hours of us posting this, and they had like a little free. They put it on their Instagram stories. It's just like a free little like. They shut down a restaurant and just like did acoustic set in a corner, and then did a Q&A about the album, and then like hung out and like I chatted with them for a while, and it was actually kind of cool. And there may be like 50 people total in this whole thing, maybe. So that was delay number 2, because how often does a band you like say, come on down to this random restaurant and hang out with us and have some drinks? So that was thing number 2. Yeah.
Well, we don't have a number 3, so
This number 3 is right here, right now. We're just doing the podcast now. Day 3 of 3 in attempting to record.
Wow.
I don't attempt. I mean, you're right. This episode can get corrupted before we upload it. So that's a good point.
That's true. Yeah, attempting is not a good word because that implies that we actually sat down. We were going to start recording, but then something happened. These were we gave ourselves at least 24-hour notice.
We still haven't finished the episode. So for all we know,
it's true. For all we know, the big one could hit. That would actually be compelling podcast content.
The big one could what? The big what?
Could hit, like the big earthquake. The big one could hit. San Andreas Fault could happen. You never know.
Couldn't that have hit? I mean, when San Andreas the movie came out, or was that like?
Yeah, but that's too synergetic. You need to do it for a random other major occasion, like the 50th episode of Random or Nintendo. You know, you can't have it be so on the nose. It has to be like on the nose adjacent. So it's not when the earthquake movie comes out. It's when a random podcast. It's a random milestone. And then the whole West Coast shakes in celebration and falls into the ocean.
Let's see.
Yeah. Kevin, save us. You're our host. I feel like we're going down a weird path.
Okay. Let me see what we have on the. I can't transition to San Andreas Fault to any of this.
It would certainly jolt you awake, much like an alarm clock could.
It will surely jolt you awake like an alarm clock would. The Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo was announced.
Boy, that was a weird thing, wasn't it? What amazing transition, Kevin. Truly a great piece of auditory content that we all got
I try,
to
you know. What can I say? I'm a master at this stuff.
Peak podcasting right there. Nintendo announced an alarm clock. Raise your hand if you saw that coming. I can't see your hands, I just realized. But
mine, but I didn't really see it coming.
Yeah, it I do love that everyone's like, oh, Nintendo's gonna announce the Switch 2, and then they're like, surprise, here's a clock. What'd you guys make of this whole thing? Because would it surprise you if I have a lot of thoughts, even though it's just a clock?
So I saved myself any information, like, because I knew that it was going to come up on the podcast. So I have no idea what this thing is.
Oh, well, that's fun. Let's explain it. Well, Angel, actually, I guess I'll explain the bare bones, and then we can. Yeah. So for those who don't know, such as Mr. Kevin, Nintendo announced a clock. It's sort of like one of those Alexa clocks where it has a motion sensor in it and an LED screen. And it uses a combination of those. So instead of just ringing an alarm and you hit snooze and you go back to sleep, which is an option with this clock in button mode, it has 3 different severities of being able to wake you up by sensing your body movement and sensing if they need to start making the alarm louder and louder, or if they can turn it off when they sense you've gotten out of bed. So it uses this motion sensor mainly to handle all the things you would normally need to manually activate with a clock. So If you toss and turn around from the clock and try to go back to sleep, it'll slowly increase the volume and the alerts and like the tone, the type of the alert. Like you'll get more aggressive, quite literally. If you get out of bed, it'll stop the clock. If you come into bed that night, it could, if you choose to, play like soothing music for you. And all the alarm sounds and all the music and all the visuals on the LCD screen are all Nintendo themed. You can pick from a few different games. I think it's like Mario Galaxy, Ring Fit Adventure, Pikmin, Zelda Breath of the Wild. Am I forgetting one, Angel? That comes with the clock.
I think. There are 5 of them. So
yeah, and I said 4, didn't I? Maybe I said 5. But
Emil
Animal Crossing. Emil the Smiling Man would be amazing.
Mario, Zelda, and
Splatoon. Splatoon. I forgot Splatoon. And then they'll be doing a future update at some point where you'll be able to get a Mario Kart theme. Wait, was it Mario Kart? Yeah, and an Animal Crossing theme. What I would love is if they went super weird and did like if this thing sells well enough, they do themes of MEO or themes that like have some fun. They do like the quirky stuff, the weird stuff. But right now, it's pretty much the big IPs. I think Angel and I both got ours delivered today, but haven't had a chance to sum up yet. So next episode, we could give impressions on the clock itself. But I feel like just the idea of it's really interesting in a lot of ways. Good and bad, arguably. But even like just when you have it on display, excluding the alarm, apparently there's little animations. Every hour, there's like an hourly animation for a theme. You can switch the themes, on the fly, basically. There's a big glowy thing on top that's the button, but also it like changes colors. And that's kind of the gist of it. And it's $100. That's the other piece. It's $100 for basically a Nintendo-fied Alexa alarm. And you got 2 out of 3 people on this podcast who were the suckers that spent that $100. So that's kind of the high level. Yeah, Angel, am I forgetting anything about what it like is as a clock or as an alarm? Or
no, that pretty much covers all of it.
Yeah, it's funny because like when I first saw the announcement, I feel like my train of thought about it. This is going to be cheesy, but bear with me. I feel like my train of thought escalated as I kept thinking about it, much like the alarms escalate as you keep not waking up. But, like, the first thought, of course, was, like, what? Like, what is this thing? Why did they make a clock? Which is a fair question, I would argue, that I think anyone thought. And, it is, I think I immediately drifted towards I like wacky, weird Nintendo that does kind of offbeat projects and products. And, I think we talked about it here a bunch, like those little weird, quirky eShop games they would do on the 3DS, or like when they do odd accessories, like the e-reader. Anyone remember the e-reader from the Game Boy Advance where you like swipe cards to unlock levels? And it was totally
that wasn't
like,
that long ago.
Boy, do I ever.
Wasn't it?
Wait, did you have an e-reader,
e-reader.
Kevin? Did you have the e-reader, Kevin? The way you
No.
said, boy, do I. Oh, because the way you said it, I was like, wait, you had one? But, like stuff like that, or Nintendo may actually turn like a scale, like a weight scale, into like a video game controller, or like Ring Fit Adventure. Like weird Nintendo's fun. I like weird Nintendo, and I feel like we lost a little of the weird Nintendo as they kind of like sterilized with the Switch era and with merch and stuff. So my immediate thought when I saw this clock, even though it sort of has this sort of more like sterile IP driven part of Nintendo, was it's weird hardware again, and that was nice, and I liked that, and I paid $100 for that with not even a second of a I didn't even doubt for a second, like, yeah, weird Nintendo, wacky Nintendo, I'm buying that, and I was into that. And I guess Angel, you obviously felt similar because you bought it pretty much on the spot too, right?
Yeah, but it sounds like you went through like not a life flashing before your eyes, but
No.
like a lot, like they sound like a lot definitely went through your head.
A lot went through my head initially. Or sorry, go ahead. Yeah, say your piece, and then I'll go back to what's in my head.
Kind of funnily enough, my experience was kind of the opposite. Like I think it was one of our friends. He just like sent a link to. It just said like Nintendo Alarmo sound clock, and I watched the video. I didn't really think too much about it. Just kind of like just watched the video once, like passively, because I was also at work. And yeah, and then I just bought it, and then I don't think it was until like maybe a couple hours later where other people started like either buying it or commenting on it that I started to think more about like just kind of the fun potential. I use an alarm clock every day, so they probably could have done a lot less, and I would have still purchased it. and I'm sure like you, I didn't think like twice about the price. This was 100%, like 100%, like a loyalty purchase. Like
Oh, same.
I
Yeah.
like I don't think there was any kind of like, oh, this feels like a smart purchase,
This is
or
$100, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even
Jesus.
try to critique the device or even like process like what it actually does. Like when I saw the video, like I wasn't even fully paying attention to it. Like as soon as I saw Alarmo, it was just, oh, I guess I'm purchasing this. And then I saw the price and I'm like, all right, well, it is what it is. And like almost
Yeah,
just
I mean
like
that's basically what my
like
train of thought was.
that's
Yeah.
just like yep, like well, that's just how much they're choosing to charge us. So I guess we're getting it.
Is that the
And
same way that
yeah.
you felt about that Gurren Lagann Blu-ray?
A little bit, like I mean,
Because that is how I felt about that.
yeah, because
I
it pretty
wasn't
much
happy
is like
paying the however that thing, how much that cost.
yeah, yeah. It's
But
kind
it
of
was
like what are we
alright,
gonna
I
do?
guess,
Like,
I guess, yeah.
yeah, like when are we gonna do? Like, not have the Blu-ray? Like,
Hmm.
I need to have the Blu-ray. So, yeah, and I'm excited to check it out. I got as far as I got through some of the setup. I stopped at the try lying in your bed part. I just didn't really feel like doing that at the moment because we were also like 10 minutes before recording
I
the
don't know. I
podcast.
found that so funny. Not anything you said, just the idea of like. So I was gonna try the new Nintendo thing, and then I had to lie in my bed, and I just like, no, I don't want to lie in my bed. Like
Yeah,
any
it just
other
says-
Nintendo product, that's the weirdest sentence ever.
Yeah, it just says try lying in bed. I'm like, it's not right now. Well, maybe later.
Fun fact about that: if you share a bed with a person or a pet, they don't guarantee the clock will function correctly because it uses a radio wave transmitter to monitor movement. And the radio wave transmitter, because it's not a camera, which is good for privacy, but because it's a radio wave transmitter, it can't distinguish very well if you're the one moving, your significant other is the one moving, a dog or cat is the one moving. So if there's ever a reason for a married couple to get divorced, I'm pretty sure it's because they want to use Alarmo correctly.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there isn't too much to nitpick at the moment, especially because, I've only barely just started setting it up. The only thing I'm just dreading is inputting the Wi-Fi password because you have to spin the dial at the top and press
Oh,
down
no.
for
Oh,
every
no.
single character, which based on I saw like 2 video impressions from people that bought it at Nintendo New York that day of.
Yeah.
And one of them described inputting that password as the worst password inputting experience of their life. Which makes
Pure
sense.
Nintendo. That's pure Nintendo right there. You got to
Because you
admit.
can't type anything. You literally have to spin a freaking dial
Yeah.
to put every character. God, and my password's long. But, yeah, other than that, yeah, it is kind of weird. Like, every once in a while, I'm like, why didn't they just make the alarm, like, a rounded rectangle if they were going to make it a square screen?
Yeah, it is weird that it's a square screen and a round
But it's
circle,
round,
and they downplay
yeah.
that in the promo video a little. Like in
I
the
mean,
right
I'll
lighting,
give-
you won't see it, but you definitely will see
Yeah,
it.
I'll
in
give
the
it that
wrong
right now.
lighting.
Like, the lighting in the room right now, like, does mask the screen pretty well. But everything is still within, the parameters of I guess 16:9 aspect ratio. So it still looks weird. It's like, well, why isn't the back and necks further down? Why aren't the
Right.
1 2 5 like kind of like rounded at the top? But none of that matters because like it was a mandatory purchase regardless. So we have to
And
wait
because
for
truthfully, you'll be asleep
Alarmo.
during most of the time that the clock's displaying anyway. So
We'll have to wait for Alarmo 2.0 at some point, and then we'll see what that gets.
the Super Alarmo, Alarmo 64, or make a square one called Alarmo Cube. Done.
There you go. The game.
Put 2 clocks on top of each other.
The Alarmo DS.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah. Or have
Oh,
one
I
big
did use a
clock, but then a
DSLR.
secondary, smaller
fun.
clock screen elsewhere in your room, and you have the Alarmo U.
So this is, I mean, I guess kind of like to one of your old points. Nintendo never gives up on an idea. Like
Quality of life.
yeah, looking back, I've used anytime Nintendo offered an alarm through one of their consoles, I always used it. Like I've used my 3DS as an alarm. I've used their dedicated alarm apps, whether it's from Animal Crossing or Super Mario Brothers. Pretty sure I've used it on the normal DS as well. I don't think the Game Boy Advance had one. Maybe you did. Maybe there was a game that had it.
I
Didn't
don't
have that.
recall the system didn't have a system menu, so probably not.
Yeah, but I guess
Yeah.
ever since the DS, I have been using some kind of Nintendo product as an alarm. Even my alarm before I got Alarmo is an LCD Kirby alarm that I got in Japan,
It's pretty
which
cool.
I do love, but I'm not really gonna miss the single chip tune beginning of Green Greens, like not even all of Green Greens, just like the first like 2 seconds on loop. So, that does get annoying after a while.
See, you hit a major
that's
concern
true.
I don't think Nintendo thought about. Everyone loves the charming music of Mario Galaxy's Jump Up Superstar or Breath of the Wild's, little piano jingles. Any alarm clock song you have becomes something, in general, a person has, from my experience and anecdotally, becomes something they then hate. When it was freshman year of college, my roommate played Baby Bash's Cyclone as his ringtone. And to this day, however many years later, this was 2007 it happened, and to this day, if I hear the song Cyclone, I feel myself tense up because that's, that's the song that wakes you up. You don't want to be woken up to that. They are poisoning classic Nintendo music by making it alarm clock sounds. I don't know if they considered that. So many people are going to be like, oh, I can't hear that song anymore,
Wait, what song?
For me, it was Cyclone by Baby Bash and T-Pain.
Oh, the one with T-Pain? God damn it.
Yeah. So whenever I hear it,
Which one?
and,
was that one?
in
Between the
2024, it's played everywhere, right? But whenever I hear it, like, it does that to me. Like, I kind of bristle, and I feel like I don't want Jump Up Superstar to be ruined. I love Jump Up Superstar, but if it becomes my alarm clock, that's going to be
But
the
don't you
reaction I
want to
have.
jump up, Superstar?
I do. I want to jump up in the air, and I'll be their one-up girl, or whatever the line is. But, no, like, I'm not serious at this point, but like some people, do, like an alarm clock does that. So I'm kind of curious if people are going to find like the songs they like least to set it to, or if they're just going to slowly start hating Mario music, or like how, it's like the reverse of a Pavlovian response. It's like a negative. I mean, I guess it is one, but it's like a negative one, So that'll be kind of interesting to see. Because, even you admitted it right now, Angel, those first couple seconds of the Kirby alarm clock, you kind of grew to dread. So what's going to happen with Alarmo?
Well, it's specifically how it sounds from the alarm. Thankfully, it's not how it sounds from the actual game.
Fair.
It's still
fair.
kind of chiptune-y. But yeah, I know what you mean. I feel that more whenever, I guess, you pick the song yourself. This one presumably will shuffle it between 7. I think you could pick it to shuffle, or you could just have it set to the same one.
I
every
thought
day.
it escalated with different songs depending on how quickly you get up or something, but maybe I'm wrong. In which case,
There are
that's
7
perfect.
tracks you
That'll
can
shuffle.
pick. It's like
Oh,
I think
and then it does it within that. Okay.
Yeah. I think they
makes
have
sense.
other. They either have like another track that intensifies, but in theory the sound effects get louder.
Right.
They're supposed to be detecting your movement, like the
Right.
drowning Pikmin apparently. But yeah.
Yeah, they get urgent. That's the interesting thing. Bowser comes at you with Mario. Pikmin drown. Like, it's intense if you don't get up. But there's something you said, Nintendo, that I said back, which I do say all the time, and especially said back around Nintendo. Nintendo never gives up on an idea. You were pointing out how there's alarm clocks in their systems. Quality of life product from like 2014 or 13 or something that Satoru Iwata would talk up was a sleep related device. And here we are in 2024 with Nintendo releasing a sleep related device. And back then it was to help you track sleep. And this device also, along with all the alarm stuff, will track your sleep through your movement. So I wonder what the through line is there.
So how does this complement Pokemon Sleep or replace
They're
it?
completely independent. Pokemon Sleep, like, it's a little device, and then you track all that in your phone with your Apple Health or your Google or your Android Health app. Alarmo, from my understanding, is all contained on the device and just shows you charts. It would be really cool, and they could do it with Wi-Fi, if they could sync up into an existing tracking API like Health. But who knows if they will. But I did find it really interesting. And this goes back to my thought of, like, I initially was like, oh, weird, Nintendo's back, I love it, and just bought it. Like, my escalating thoughts. Like, the next thing I thought was, oh my God, this is like Nintendo taking a quality of life thing from 10 years ago that they talked up that never happened, finding a way to do it. and doing it in a way that makes sense for modern Nintendo, where they love selling plastic, as we all know, and where merch and IP first initiatives have become bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is kind of like the complement. This is like all of them coming together into this product, which I thought was, again, kind of interesting. Not something you initially think when you first see it. You first go, up, time to take out the credit card. It's Nintendo telling me to spend something. But then the next thought after that was like, oh, this is a lot of Nintendo strategies all thrown
Now,
in
what
one
did I buy?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, because like it is interesting. I think that when Nintendo first started doing quality of life stuff, it was very. I used the word sterile before to describe like Nintendo is like very just like it's Mario in a Mario looking thing, but the like really sterile like 10 years ago, the Wii, the DS, like the stark white, like everything being kind of like that sort of Apple-ish design. The early prototypes of this thing. There's an Ask the Developers interview on Nintendo.com. There's a 4-part interview about making an alarm clock on Nintendo.com, and in that interview, they show some prototypes, and the thing literally started as like sterile era Nintendo and kind of moved into as time went on, and they started to figure out the features and what like the hook is. It seems like they realized, oh, well, the hook is what Nintendo's now pivoting towards as a company. We're doing stuff with IPs. Home goods and merch is a huge component of Nintendo now. They have so many Nintendo stores in Japan now. They're opening one in San Francisco now. A lot of the most popular merch is like various, they have like cookware for Animal Crossing and stuff. This slots in exactly with that, but still keeps sort of the inner workings of what the quality of life thing was going to be a decade ago. So I find that kind of interesting. Like Nintendo found a way to sort of bridge the two Nintendos, if you will. So I'm curious, kind of, if this is the start of, if assuming Alarmo even takes off, if this is the start of more like Nintendo-fied things that can help you in your day-to-day life that aren't necessarily video games, but will be video game themed. Like it used to be Nintendo would sell us plastic to enhance a video game, amiibo, right? The Wii wheel, the balance board. But now they're dabbling in, well, what if we just make random other things that are like game themed or have hints of game interactivity with Alarmo. So I'm kind of curious if this sells well, or are we seeing a new like line of products coming after this? I don't know if Nintendo even knows, but it feels like this is sort of a litmus test in a lot of ways, And that led me to another escalated thought, because the thoughts just keep stacking. So once I started thinking about like, is this sort of a litmus test? I was like, well, what else is it testing? Because it's really interesting that they're only selling it. And this is a piece we didn't say at the top for your information, Kevin, since you didn't watch anything about it. You can only get a Alarmo in the year 2024 through the My Nintendo store as a subscriber to the Nintendo Switch Online program.
I knew
you can't
that
just buy it from. Oh, you did know that part. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting to me there is it feels like it's a litmus test of two things. One, if there's even interest in this thing. I can imagine a lot of retailers being like, excuse me, you want to sell what? And Nintendo being like, oh, our fans will love it. Like, they'll just take out their credit cards right away. Look at Angel. Look at Jason. We have hundreds of them like that. Thousands of them like that. But I could see maybe retailers are a little hesitant. So this is like a way to show there's market demand. But also, if I was Nintendo and I wanted to test out if my core audience will enthusiastically rush to my website and buy something directly from me and make sure my infrastructure is in place to be able to handle that, this seems like a very soft launch of a potential direct sale pre-order system for Switch 2. They've been revamping their My Nintendo store for the past like year and a half. And to launch something that's so enthusiast oriented, because let's be honest, most people have bought this thing right away and they're in My Nintendo or in Nintendo Switch, the Switch Online program, are enthusiasts. This went off without a hitch. It's obviously smaller scale, but if they're able to dynamically scale up from whatever worked with this, it seems like in the way PlayStation sells their consoles directly, Nintendo could start. And this was kind of like the infrastructure test, one could argue. Maybe. Right? Like, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Like, launch new hardware only on here and see what happens and make sure it doesn't, like, buckle, or make sure, like, even if it's not this infrastructure test for the web store, is the distribution center streamlined? Is the, assembly lines to get things in boxes and out streamlined? Like, this is a good way to sort of run that test, if you will. They've done it with, like, shirts, but this is at a scale that probably is bigger because this is the only place you can get this new Nintendo gadget. So I thought that might be kind of interesting. And then the final escalated thought I had after that is, okay, so they're doing it for Switch too. Well, that reminds me of how before Switch came out, Nintendo would fill the slower years of the Wii U with weird other products for enthusiasts. And it occurred to me, this is, in a weird way, the 2024 version of the mini consoles they did, like the Classic NES edition, or the NES Classic edition, the NES Super Nintendo Classic edition, like all the stuff, Amiibo when they did, all the stuff they did to kind of be like, well, we have a softer holiday season, let's juice our numbers and get our revenue up by doing something that the enthusiasts will go crazy for. And it's just like, relatively speaking, not that big of a thing. Like the technology in this clock, it's a motion sensor that's existed for a few years, a screen and some plastic. You know, the NES and the SNES are plastic with some custom software. And yeah, like it felt very much in the vein of, they wouldn't launch this thing in 2017 when the Switch was firing on all cylinders in its first year. They would launch this thing in the final possible year of just the Switch, when maybe there's not as many games, or there's not as much interest, or, you know, there's a Circana sales data from August that just came out that showed that Switch year over year in August in the US is down 41% in sales. So how you get those fans that would have been buying all those Switches to give you a little more money, sell an alarm clock for $100. You'll get a few bucks out of them. So it just feels like there's like a lot of it's an alarm clock, and that's all it is. But it feels like there's a lot of like bits and bobs around it that are maybe shaping why we're getting it now, why it exists, how it came to be, why it's this way. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting, that for something that's just like, oh, it's an alarm clock that has Pikmin drowning on it. It's like, oh, but it's also a litmus test. It's also them doing IP in a new way. It's also, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm interested to see where this goes from here. But
the world may never know.
Well, we will know, because either something will happen or nothing will happen. Yeah. But
the world may know eventually.
But short term, at least, we got a fun little gadget to play with. And if nothing else, that's exactly what it is. Like, it'll be a cool collector's item in 10 years. Just like how they are selling Ultra Hands again at the Nintendo Museum. You can buy an Ultra Hand. First time in like 40 years. So it's one of those things like, yeah, I have the Nintendo clock. It's a cool thing, you know? So that's where I stand on it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were standing on it.
I know. I'm sure you had restless nights, not able to sleep, just thinking to yourself, how long will Jason talk about the Nintendo clock?
Yep. Let's break away from Nintendo for a bit.
Yeah.
Angel, you saw Look Back?
I did.
Tell me about it, because I'm very interested in the story.
How much do you want me to say? I guess I could start by saying, if you're at all interested in this movie, I mean, I would just say, like, I just definitely recommend it. I don't know, it's weird, because I feel like I really appreciated going in, like, pretty much not knowing anything. Like, literally just, like, the poster and, yeah, I guess that first teaser trailer, which was definitely more teaser than anything, because unlike, you know, the Wild Robot one, this one maybe just had like a couple seconds of clips from the beginning of the movie, and that's it. And doesn't really tell you much, which is how all trailers should be. But yeah, it's a good movie. It's been getting really well received. I guess. What's up? Oh yeah. But I guess yeah. And I guess right now, I'll get into a little more detail. I'll obviously I won't. Yeah, there's no really reason to spoil what happens later. But this movie is essentially about, I guess, the experience. Not so much. I guess you could call it struggles, but I guess the experience of being, I guess, like a creative person, and and in this case, it's through the medium of just character art and manga art. So the general premise is, fourth grader is a talent. Well, you know, is the resident artist, praised forever for being praised by everyone for being such a great artist, by their family, friends, classmates, peers, teachers. They run like the newspaper, and then they are basically confronted with a student that doesn't come to school. They just stay at home, but they also started doing the newspaper. But turns out they're way better at drawing than them, and they kind of, and the way they find out, like their reaction and how, like, I guess like the journey they kind of go through with just, not just competition, but I guess self-worth when it comes to art, because art, at least like through my experience, has been, damn, like they managed to capture the feeling of, that initial, like, because there was a time, I think I remember, it was like middle school or something, where no one in my immediate friend group really drew anything. I think I was the only person that drew. And it's not like I thought like, oh, I'm like super amazing artist, I'm the best. But like anytime I drew something, because I was the only person that drew anything, and because I drew a lot, things for the most part resembled what I was aiming for them to be. So you would get a lot of the like, oh man, Angel, you're so good. Oh, draw me this Pokemon, draw me this thing, draw me that thing. And then I remember meeting, eventually, like, we became friends and stuff, but I met a new friend, or I met someone, and like who became, new classmate that has always been doing like manga, like anime style drawing, like forever. And the way they drew just kind of blew me out of the water. And it was kind of like, oh man, like it feels weird. And it's like, it's both like motivating, but also kind of like, you almost go through like a little like mini existential crisis, because then it's like, oh man, I thought I drew a lot. Like, do I just suck? Like, is that just kind of how it is? And that's just kind of a part of this movie. Like, it's kind of there, but I mean, it's one of the themes. But just about growth and how you pursue your passion. It's I guess it's about also just kind of following your dreams too. It's about a lot of things, but I mean, I guess to kind of sum it all up again, I guess in an angel way, um, it's without a doubt right now my favorite movie of the year so far. And I don't know where I would put it in an overall ranking, but to give an idea, movies I've given a 10 out of 10 to either have so much nostalgic weight, or they just like, a lot of times like a 10 out of 10 can be like a very personal, like, oh man, like this just gets a 10, like, or for various reasons. Like looking at the movies I saw this year, I gave Lights in the Sky or Stars, the second Gurren Lagann movie, a 10, because that literally like blew my mind. Like I think I don't know, I did go back and watch it after since then. I should update it. I think I might actually make it a 9 or 10. It's somewhere between there. Just because the sheer creativity and just like the way they push animation in general for the sake of the story is just so crazy and out there that it kind of like, I don't know. It's like, it's like you thought you'd seen everything, and then this comes along and it's like, whoa. Like the highs that I thought were highs were not even like the peaks. And oh yeah, I really love Godzilla -1. Oh yeah, I saw Transformers 1 twice here. And then Wild Robot, give that one an 8. Thought I was gonna like that one. I know I did like that one. That's not fair though. I think I did say in the last one that I liked it. Oh, that's right. I thought it was gonna make me cry, cause I thought I cried for anything, but I guess that's not the case, because there are some limits, I guess. But
it got me misty-eyed, and I rarely get misty-eyed.
Yeah, it has some very touchy moments, like where it's like, oh, this is it. Here's the build-up. I can feel it, but then nothing. But it was still a great movie. Like Jesus, the artistry in that movie.
Yeah.
But look back, damn, it got me with sad cry, happy cry. Like it made me teary, and yeah, there were waterworks for almost every kind of emotion, for how beautiful some scenes were animated. Because damn, like the traditional animation in this movie is just great, and also just for the emotional journey the characters go through. And I guess just because it felt like relatable at times, and just motivating and inspirational, and of course also just sad. But damn, yeah, it's only an hour and 15 minutes. It's a super short movie, and it made me do all of that in under an hour and a half.
And you know who wrote it, right?
Oh yeah, that's funny thing, because
the wildest part. Hold on, because Jason has actually seen an adapted work of the person that wrote this movie. Jason.
What?
Jason.
Me?
How like fuzzy feeling does this story sound?
In Look Back?
Yeah.
It sounds like it has very much the potential to be very fuzzy feeling.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Would you believe that this heartwarming story is written by the creator of Chainsaw Man?
So normally I would say no, but Angel mentioned that to me yesterday, so
God
now
damn
I
it.
do. But no, when he first said that, I was like, really? Yeah, it seems like quite the pivot. Yeah. Shows that guy's range, if nothing else.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because, like, I've still only just seen the first episode of Chainsaw Man. So the tagline, look back from the creator of Chainsaw Man, like, didn't hold that much weight into the reason why I watched it. Because, like, I know Chainsaw Man, at least like from what I've heard from Kevin, it's like it's a quality manga. Like, it's definitely worth checking out. I still plan to eventually. But, it's also like of this very, well, actually, I can't really say much because I haven't really read too much, but, it looks very action heavy and as well as some other stuff. It's not really what I think of when I thought of Look Back or when I saw anything about Look Back. If anything, I'm just a really big fan of stories and shows that are about the art of making art. Like a lot of my favorite anime, or just like pursuing your dreams and the creation of art. So like hands off my Azokin, I love that anime. Probably one of my favorites. It's just an anime about making anime. Ace of Diamonds. Like basically like perseverance and teamwork and just imposter syndrome and all that fun stuff. Then you got stuff like, what was the other one that was in my head? It's blanking. But yeah, I would not have guessed that something like this would have come from, as from what I hear from the writer of Chainsaw Man. And from what I saw, and from what I've seen of Chainsaw Man, and after seeing this movie, it doesn't really feel like it falls into the, if you liked what you saw and Look Back, you'll probably enjoy Chainsaw Man and vice versa. Because they still seem like very different things. I guess it's going to be more like, do you like the writing quality of the author? Like, do you think his stories are tight and like well written? Then you probably like this.
Like it's like if you watch Your Name, and then after if you like Your Name, check out Look Back, right? Not if you like Your Name, watch Chainsaw Man.
That just sounds hilarious. Like it's very different. I mean, they do make there is a reference to Chainsaw Man that's it's very like even like I caught it like it's not subtle, but it also doesn't like distract either. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if the way I described it or if that genre seems appealing or if the fact that it was written by a Chainsaw Man writer is enough to at least make you check it out. But yeah, I mean, I definitely can't wait to watch it again on Blu-ray or whenever it comes out like that. But
so I haven't
freaking love that movie.
I haven't read Look Back or watched the movie for that matter.
There's something I could read.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting about that.
But you should also check out. He did another one shot called Goodbye Eri. That one I have read, and that one is fantastic.
That sounds sad. Just by the title. But I'll definitely check it out. Good. Is it also one shot?
It's also one shot. Yep.
Oh, that's nice. I wonder if that will also eventually get a film.
I think
not at this point, considering the reception this movie seems to be getting.
Well, unfortunately, the director of this movie said that he would not even try to attempt to adapt Look Back.
Damn. Oh, that's right.
Or not Look Back. I'm sorry. Goodbye, Eri.
I was about to say, but he just watched Look Back.
Yeah, the funny thing is that after the movie, I guess we'll say like pad the runtime or fill in the hour and a half time slot. There was like maybe like a 20-minute documentary on the making of the movie. Mainly just like interviews with the director, kind of like what we saw with Dandadan.
Which I wish that they would have shown that for when we want to go see Dandadan, that they showed at the end of it. because that
Yeah.
those 20 minutes spoiled the crap out of those. Those
Wait, they
episodes.
showed it before they showed you the show.
Oh yeah, the interviews. Yeah, and they showed.
Oh,
and they
that's
showed like some
no,
pivotal
no,
stuff.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, this one, I guess it made. Well, I guess someone thought like it makes more sense to do it at the end because like one of the things they asked the voice actors was like, which is your favorite line? And there were like, I think one of the lines they picked would have been a very big spoiler. Or at the very least, like definitely gives influence some things. But yeah, like when they asked the director, like, oh, how hard was it to interpret Look Back, that apparently he rejected it initially, or he's like, I don't know how I would, like, turn this into a film. Like, I don't really think you can really adapt it.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he just, like, really struggled with it for a really long time until he eventually, I guess, like, found something he could latch onto and then kind of, like, reinterpret that. And then there was, like, one scene in particular that's like, yeah, this is just one quick 2-page spread of a girl skipping, and it ends up becoming, like, one of the most like memorable scenes in the movie, just because of like how they turned that simple skip into like this big interpretive, like, emotional moment. But yeah, I mean, damn, lots of kudos to the director. They definitely did a good job. But yeah,
Nice.
hopefully they give the other one a shot. If not, I'll just read it at this point. I definitely want to buy Look Back now, the book. Now that I remember that's a thing.
Mm-hmm. Distributed by G Kids, who also distributed the first 3 episodes of Dan to Dan.
Did they
G
just get
Kids,
acquired?
yep, just got acquired by Toho.
Yeah,
That's pretty
like
big.
today, right? Or yesterday?
Well, they just announced
I
it today. Who knows when that?
Well, yeah,
actually
yeah,
happens.
but that's yeah.
So,
That's pretty big.
mm-hmm.
Good for them.
Godzilla big,
GG.
one could argue, cause Toho.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's tough.
Let's dive back into Nintendo, shall we?
Oh, I'm at the ready. That's a nice
Oh.
detour.
Jason's
what-
unbuttoning his pants or however
Yep.
that.
No,
Yep,
buttons
yep.
firmly buttoned. Thank you.
You know the like what you do in Thanksgiving because you need to make room.
Good save. Sound like you're going a very different, very
That's what I
not
was going for.
podcast friendly direction.
As I
here.
was saying it, it did occur to me, but I'm like, nope, we're committing.
Yeah, we had a feast of Nintendo this past, like of weird Nintendo things this past 2
Exactly.
weeks. Yeah.
Speaking of feast, Pikmin sushi. The hell is
Yes. So when I was saying before that Nintendo is very big on like their IP pushing now, when I was, Alarmo's an example of that and like their products. I mean, I ate Pikmin sushi. I built Lego Marios. I read about aquariums doing Animal Crossing promos, and now the San Diego Zoo doing like Pikmin promos. Like they're going all in with the IP stuff. But the Pikmin sushi is kind of what's interesting because it was also my first trip to Kura Revolving Sushi, which is a sushi chain. I think there's like 60 of them in the U.S. I've done Revolving Sushi before, and you usually have a little stack of plates that sit on the table, and they tally it.
Mhm.
What if I told you this restaurant chain has like a plate chute, and you drop your plate into the chute and it plays a little chime and then a little animation appears above a screen and it's all like you're gamifying your sushi eating?
I
What?
wouldn't believe it.
And what if I then told you they further gamify it by if you eat enough plates worth of sushi, you get a free little trinket, which is Pikmin themed at the moment. So if you eat like 15 plates, you are eligible for a trinket, a little like gachapon sort of thing. And I got a spiffy Pikmin keychain. But because this is true gachapon gamification, there are 3 different items in 3 different varieties, plus a special secret like version of a keychain. So you have to keep going back and keep at random, hopefully getting the right items by continuing to buy sushi, stuff it in your mouth, and shoot the plate down the hole. It is I know gamification's everywhere, but I did not expect it in sushi, and I will say it was very enjoyable. Yeah, there's not much else to say besides that. The Pikmin promo, it is cool to see Nintendo like pushing Pikmin so hard. I just ordered actually Pikmin Christmas ornaments like last night. That wasn't a thing. The zoo experience I mentioned. So San Diego Zoo, they the kids zone, they have like Pikmin Hin and a scavenger hunt you can do. Like Pikmin's like it's on Alarmo. Like they're really trying to push it hard. And as a Pikmin lover, And obviously Pikmin Bloom is a thing. It's just been nice to see. But
You're
I did
a
want to
Pikmin
talk about
lover,
Pikmin.
not a fighter. Yeah.
I'm a Pikmin lover, not a fighter. I don't send my Pikmin into battle. I just hug them. But yeah, I think like it was just like the combination of Pikmin Sushi on one day, and then I spent one night building a 15.5-inch Lego Super Mario World, Mario and Yoshi. That's another thing that's like not much to say, but just really cool, like really cool stuff now that Nintendo's like doing more weird collabs and merch. 15.5 inches tall, perfect pixel for pixel replica of the pixel art of Mario with his cape riding Yoshi from my all-time favorite game, Super Mario World. And it has a crank, and when you crank it, there's all sorts of mechanisms you build in the back, like levers and pulleys and things. And when you crank it, it animates just like the sprite animates. And like even the tail on, or not the tail, the cape on Mario, like bops against Yoshi's back and like sways. And if you turn a little knob up in the back of Yoshi's mouth, it opens his mouth and out comes his tongue. And it's just like, it's all perfect, like physical recreations of the sprite animations. And it is so cool. And it is way too tall for basically any shelf but one that I have in my place. So I don't really know where to put it because that shelf isn't really the best shelf to put it on. But nonetheless, again, Nintendo's new merch initiative. I mean, the clock, the Legos, the Pikmin sushi. Eventually, I'll probably go to San Diego Zoo and spot some Pikmin if I want to hang out with 9-year-old kids in the children's area. But yeah, it's just like there's so many like side quests of being a Nintendo fan right now, and it's been fun the last couple of weeks. I've really enjoyed it. And it wasn't just Nintendo I was enjoying. I also was in kind of this weird like Lego mode because I built the Mario Lego, and then like the next day or 2 days later I saw Piece by Piece, the Lego Pharrell documentary, biopic, whatever you want to call it. So I've had a 10-day period that could either be great as a fan of Nintendo and Legos or great as just a child. Like if I was a child, this would be a killer 10 days. But yeah, so
You're still a child at heart.
I'm still a child at heart. Have either of you seen or had any interest in seeing Piece by Piece?
Well, I had seen it already, but I guess not in theaters again.
What'd you think of it when you saw it?
It was fine. It was kind of like a by the book documentary, but in Lego, so it was already more interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of where I landed. You know what was interesting is it turns out it wasn't all factual.
All right, I haven't seen it. I was just invited to a pre-screening.
He's been lying to me about this for weeks, and I keep asking him, "What'd you think of this scene?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that scene was good." So I knew something was up, but yeah, it's interesting because it is basically a documentary, but it is in Lego form. So the story is pretty standard documentary fare, and like it's PG. So like Pharrell's biggest struggle in life is his ego gets big at one point because he has too many brand deals, and he has to get back to reality in his head about like what really matters, which is the music, which is like the softest, the drama. So, but no, it what's kind of fun about it is they really play with the Lego. Like the set pieces are really creative. There's a lot of creative visuals. There's a lot of visual gags. And it's just like it's this weird crossroad of like hip hop culture heavily and Legos. So like all the Lego people are wearing like real like designer brand shirts. Like that, like they're Legos, but they have like the real Vans. Well, Vans isn't designer, but they have like the real logos on them. And then there's like odd little gags. Well, not odd, but it's a kid friendly movie. So when they meet Snoop Dogg and record "Drop It Like It's Hot," they go into Snoop's studio and he's surrounded by smoke. And what is this smoke, you may wonder, in the PG Lego documentary? Why, it's a man on the side holding a bottle called PG spray and just spraying the room with this random PG spray mist. It's not weed by any means.
That's funny. That's
yeah.
clever.
So there's some good gags like that. Yeah. So there's little things like that that are actually really entertaining. And overall, it's pretty fun. But I just thought it was interesting that they play around, like the imagination in it is so like they have a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of little stuff, but then like they also kind of like I guess made up some stuff to make it flow better. So like apparently, and I had no idea this was true. For those who are familiar with the hip hop world, Timbaland, Pharrell, Pusha T, the rest of the other Neptune, Chad, that made music with Pharrell, all went to high school together or middle school in Virginia Beach. And then they just randomly in the movie were like, and so did Missy Elliott. And it turns out Missy Elliott did not actually go to high school with them, but for some reason had no bearing in the overall story of the biography, but they just felt the need to just like randomly add her, which was a little odd.
Randomly, impulsively lie?
Yeah, essentially. Like, at least from my understanding, I read somewhere that someone corrected saying she did not go to high school or middle school with them, but it's just like, why would they throw that in there? But for the most part, it is a pretty entertaining movie. And I think between the visual fun they have with the piece by piece and the gorgeous animation of the wild robot that I saw a couple days later, and like what you're talking about with Look Back, and it's just a really fun time to be like, just like it was really fun for me to like indulge in all these Nintendo things that aren't like Nintendo's main thing. It's also a really awesome time if you're into animated movies. Like, apparently there's some box office record last week that 5 out of the top 10 movies in the country were animated. For the first time, half the box office was animated, which is pretty cool. Like, it really does feel like, and maybe this all speaks to the same thing, it really does feel like we've hit a point where everyone that grew up with cartoons, everyone that grew up with Nintendo and video games are now at the age where, like, they're creating that stuff and have the income to go spend on that stuff. And as a result, we're seeing, like, more of that stuff that's catered beyond just the original audience. Like, even the Pharrell documentary, like, yes, it's kid-friendly. It's a documentary. Take away the Legos, it's a standard documentary, and kids will not find much in it. But it's a good, like, by-the-book, paint-by-number documentary. Like, it's entertaining. Like, they would never, I feel like, have done that in the 90s or something, because they'd be like, what parent cares, you know? But we reached a point where we're all kind of the trendsetters now, our generation. So it's kind of cool to see in all these different ways that we've gotten there. So that's what I thought of Pikmin Sushi, to bring it all back. Sorry, I feel like I just like rambled a little, but yeah, there you go. Checked off like 7 items on the docket.
All right. That leaves us with only a couple things. Let's not go back into Nintendo. I've had enough on my plate. So I don't really have anything to bring to the table, but I did say that I would bring some topics along, but I don't have anything. We did this a few episodes ago with, I forget what the topic was.
Is it time for, when we last talked about...
Yeah.
I don't recall. I do know a few episodes ago we also started the Kevin live service corner. Should you have any live service updates? But I don't think that's where you're going right now.
No, I'm not going for the Kevin live service corner. No, the topic was favorite video game trailers.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like many episodes ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
4 or 5 or 6 or 10.
Mm-hmm. So I want to do that, and this one isn't going to be as happy as that last one. Last episode, I believe Angel talked about Pizza Tower, or was that 2 episodes ago? I don't remember anymore.
It was recent.
It was recent.
It was recent. Yeah.
And I remember, I forgot how the conversation came up about Pizza Tower, but I just remember being like, man, there is one thing that's keeping me away from ever playing that game, and that is its art style. I'm not a fan of the art style. I'm sure it's a great game, but that art style is just not doing it for me. So this topic is, what piece of media have you guys stopped from consuming because of some aspect of it that turns you off completely? Like I said, for me, it was Pizza Tower's like art style. I really find that art style just not that great. I'm sure it does it for some people, but it just doesn't for me.
Right.
It's definitely extreme. Give it that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really know how to describe it. But whenever I see, and this is just unfortunate because I'm sure a lot of these are great games, but whenever I see any kind of high fantasy anime aesthetic medieval period,
let me remove Metaphor Refantasio from next week's docket.
That one actually kind of like managed to like escape that prejudgment because I think the first time I saw it was actually a picture of the game in motion with its UI, and the amount of style it had. Like I think this was before I knew it was also by the Persona team. So I was like, "Whoa, what is this game? It looks like." I think I literally thought like, "Man, for a high fantasy, medievally looking kind of game, like it actually looks kind of interesting." And then
Did
I'm
it
like,
kind of make
"Oh,
sense once it was revealed that it was a Persona team? It was like,
yeah."
okay,
I'm like,
checks out.
"Oh, okay."
Suddenly,
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
menus were like, "Oh, of course, yeah."
yeah. Like yeah, the thing was just, yeah, like I think it was a character select or just like the character screen, also just like nuts, but yeah, pretty much like whenever like a Fire Emblem trailer comes online or any kind of like anime aesthetic RPG game that takes place in like a medieval setting, it's
Yeah, sort of
it almost
that high fantasy setting.
yeah, it almost becomes like white noise. Like it, I feel like they have to work harder to get my attention just because by default it's typically my least favorite. It was my least favorite type of fiction. Like
Mm-hmm.
in that kind of, and that's not to say like, oh, that means I prefer like space stuff, like sci-fi. And sci-fi, I guess you could say I do prefer it somewhat, but not like in the Star Wars aesthetic. If it's in almost in the same way, you could almost group um political power struggles in space with that primarily use ships.
So Gundam.
Um,
So Battlestar Galactica is a hard
kinda.
pass for you.
But I don't dislike. But yeah, it just like I feel like I would only really check out anything in any of those genres if someone specifically said like, "Oh, you should check this out." Like, "Oh, this is really good," because I have been surprised before. But there's just so many sometimes. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember what Nintendo Direct it was, but it felt like every other game was set in that kind of aesthetic. That
Mm-hmm.
almost kind of like the farming games, or like when everyone, it felt like everything had like a Terraria kind of like aesthetic. Oh my god, I said Terraria, but I was really thinking of the other one, uh, Stardew Valley.
That proved your point right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, like whenever, anytime anything has like that kind of like pseudo 16-bit art style, like that also kind of like almost immediately becomes a turn off or turns me away from it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there are some things that I can't help but just prejudge unless someone actually tells me to check it
Mm-hmm.
out.
Okay, what about you, Jason?
Well, it's funny when you first proposed this topic to us.
Oh, anime.
Back when, no, well, when you first proposed this topic to us back when we were talking about Pizza Tower in our group chat, you were joking like, for Jason, it's anything on a Nintendo platform, and I was like, haha, sure, yeah. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh crap, yeah, actually, to a large extent, I will appreciate from afar if something exists on another platform, but I kind of tune out actually any Astrobot and weirdly Forza Horizon 4 or 5 being the
Sounds so
exceptions, but super random. But for the most part, I like tune out a lot of the other stuff just because I'm like, well, it's never gonna cross my path. Even if it sounds very interesting, even if it could be really interesting, that just always seems to happen with me. Because I'm like, I'm not gonna buy another system. And then I was thinking about it further, and I was like, you know what else that happens with? And it's become more so, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. Games that just look like or have systems that sound like they require too much of a time investment. They may not, but there's a game where
I
it's
like
like,
that though.
do you,
Games that
yeah, wait,
you know
what I mean?
some RPGs like you just like oh man, like this is
Yeah,
like a lot of
yeah.
mental energy just to like get good at this. For lack of a
Anytime I
better
hear
term.
crafting system, I like slightly tense up.
Kind of like some fighting
Often,
games, like it's the only reason I'm even playing Rivals of Ether 2, just because I could literally translate all the controls from Smash Brothers down to Smash attacks, where they're mapped on what button, to Rivals of Ether 2, which has a demo out right now, which is really
Mm-hmm.
cool and I recommend it. But otherwise, like,
Mhm.
damn, yeah, like I tried all those other fighting Smash like games, even the ones with Ninja Turtles in them. Just couldn't
Mhm.
get into them. It's all fun.
Yeah, it's
But anyway, you're saying.
yeah, I don't know. It's just like there's something, and you know what? The games could be amazing, and the systems could be very like easy to get into and stuff. But like kind of part about like I guess the fighting games is just like I had to learn something here. Do I want to learn something here? Like for example, they came out with a 5-minute.
One day, like your Annapurna games, you barely have to learn anything. You just kind of moving
exactly.
forward.
You just kind of move forward. Yeah. Or better yet, like well, actually no, especially
or
like Sayonara.
Aereo?
Yeah, Emio just kind of moves itself forward. Sayonara Wild Hearts, you just move to you just swing some control sticks to the music.
Wait, so Zelda Echoes of Wisdom didn't seem intimidating, or was that like?
Well, I don't know if you remember when it was announced, even on the podcast, I'm like, I love that it's like more streamlined, but like I see there's still freedom of choice. How much freedom? I'm afraid of the freedom. Like I genuinely, I don't know.
The Twilight aesthetic does kind of help like make it feel like it's more like oh, it's an approachable version of Tears of the Kingdom.
That and also having now played it and continuing to play it, and I talked about it last episode, like it's actually not anywhere near as like there's a lot you can do, but the depth and the
it's as deep as you want it
it's
to
not
be.
You're not daisy chaining as much together as like in Tears of the Kingdom. Like it's pretty 1-to-1. I choose to do this, then it happens. I choose to summon this echo, then it does that right then and there. Like it's a little streamlined in that regard. But yeah, when I like what I was starting to say is when Mario and Luigi Brothership, they came out with a trailer last week, like a 5-minute. You know, one of those like, we're going to tell you about the game mechanics, or videos where they have the narration that's all. Yeah. I don't know if Nintendo just keeps hiring different voice actors to narrate every single trailer for every single game, but every one of those 5-minute like explainer videos they put out has a different person narrating it. So either they have a stable of like 700 people just ready to talk about one game one time, or they're hiring people on the fly. But this guy was going on about like, you know, oh, you got to go explore these different islands and you sail between them by saying a path. I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. That kind of reminds me of Wind Waker, but it sounds more streamlined. And that sours your pickle? And then, no, that was all great. That was all great because it sounded like Wind Waker, but a little more streamlined. And then he goes, and there's crafting. And I'm like, why? Why is there crafting? Why do we need crafting? But it's Mario and Luigi, so I'm sure the crafting is in a streamlined way and I'll be fine. But the fact that when I hear crafting or I hear about a deep system or something, I immediately go, I don't know. Like that, I feel like is me kind of judging the book by its cover before learning about the system, you know?
Yeah, little tiny confession. While definitely not to that point, whenever I do hear crafting or know that crafting is a part of a game, I guess it's just a part I'm never looking forward to, but I wouldn't say it deterred me from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Really didn't like so many games have it. Like I wish Animal Crossing didn't have it. It just felt like, I know the whole point of it is like to get kind of make everything, but you come to a point where you're just like, I just want the damn chair. Like, just give me the chair.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to like craft it like 8 different times. Just let me like pick on a slider, say I want 8, and like, oh my god. Or even like stuff like in like Last of Us 1 and 2. Like I'm all like, okay, I need more like a little grenade thingies. Oh, I need to get more like scraps of shards of glass and canisters of whatever. Like, I call it laziness, or I guess like my suspense of disbelief is already high enough that I would buy if I just find all these things on the ground already. Sometimes you do, but I guess not often enough that you still have to craft all. You have to make shivs. Oh my god, if I just like make your shivs because they're disposable, because you can only stab someone twice with them, or maybe once for an auto kill, and then you have to like go out and craft more. Yeah, I mean, it adds to the suspense. It's supposed to be kind of survival-y, but I don't like doing it. But
and don't get me wrong, like in games where I've used it, I haven't like disliked it. Like Animal Crossing.
And I don't think I've ever
I was like, yeah, this makes sense. I'm cool with this. But like
looking back, exactly. When I give my ultimate impressions of it, like, I think I still thought as highly or low as I did of Last of Us 2. I actually don't remember. I want to say I had a lot of fun with it, but I didn't hold the crafting against it. It's just I know that's 100% like a me thing, but
well, no, it's not. Like it's an us thing, because I'm sorry that
I
don't hold it against it.
Oh yeah, I meant the royal me, as in like it's a per person problem, not a.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Unless and again, I don't know, Kevin, like, do you have like, is there any game where you're like okay, this did not need crafting. This is just gratuitous at this point.
I can't think of any like specific examples. Oh, you know what?
No, what are you doing?
No, Final Fantasy Rebirth has crafting in it, and it's just like, oh, why? It completely unnecessary. Like, you don't have to craft to progress through the game at all. Like, I'm pretty sure you can go throughout the entire game without having to craft. But it's just like, why would you add this to this game? The first one had no crafting at all, but this is also more of an open world than the than remake was. Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
actually,
something that
RPGs are kind of. Oh, sorry.
just to say, I'm gonna say something. I don't know how true this is, but it's how I feel. Crafting is to the 2020s what collectathons were to the 90s. Every game feels the need to just give you more to craft, just like every game back then. It's like, oh, you gotta collect all the little things because why? Just you gotta do it. It's like the evolution of collectathons, and it's not necessary in some games.
Yeah, like I think the ones
it's
where
fine. I don't dock games like you if they have it, but when I hear it, I'm like, I don't know if you need it. You know, when I first hear it, yeah.
And sometimes it's cool. Sometimes like I do like the crafting. I mean, I do actually like the crafting in Minecraft, but I guess I wouldn't really be playing it otherwise. I mean, I guess you could do creative mode and just get whatever you want.
Playing mine, which is a totally different experience, I assume.
But yeah, I mean,
Not
I guess
crafting in
they
Minecraft,
have the creative mode,
yeah.
but yeah, like I mean, like I didn't mind it in Resident Evil. I mean, I kind of like the tension. There isn't a lot of crafting in that game. I think the most is like combining herbs, like red and green herb powder makes super regenerative spray. But the ones that kind of bother me the most is when the crafting materials, like essentially the game or the artist or the developers never have to like create anything more than just like either a simple drawing or even worse when they just have like a symbol to represent a type of item. And it's just like, oh, you collected boar hide, but you never see what the boar hide looks like. It's just like a little symbol of like a little animal.
Yeah. Like
something.
if you're gonna give us
then,
a million pieces to put together, you better render the millions of pieces we have to put together.
Yeah, like I want to see at least like what like the crafting bits that I have. Like in RPGs are typically more to blame for this. Like my brother and I have ignored some crafting
hold your
mechanics
tongue
of
on
some.
RPGs, okay? This is not the slander that I wanted to happen.
Like
not my
like
favorite genre of gaming.
We're going off the rails on you, Kevin.
like the Tales games that I hold so near and dear to my heart. Tales of Grace had a crafting system. It was like some weird pot thing that you have to like throw stuff in there and then it pops out like a more powerful version of the item. I never quite fully understood exactly how it worked because it had its own like pages of tutorials to go through. And I'm like, we're kind of doing well enough just like purchasing the next strongest weapon available at the next city you go to. Because every time you go to a new city, they just give you like, here's a new weapon available. Cool, it's slightly stronger than the one we're using. Buy it, equip it, cool, we're done. Versus like, oh man, I know if we collect enough seashells and a bunch of those other things, we can combine it with this other thing to get another thing to combine it with the sword to craft a super sword. But, because none of that is super tangible, it's just like text going into this little pie and you get a little animation. I don't know, it that part doesn't really do that for me, so we usually tend to ignore it unless they simplify it enough. Tales of Symphonia so far hasn't had that, and I think at most we did in Xillia was just like collect bits from animals, and every time we went to the shop, it's like, do you want to donate your squirrel skulls to upgrade the shop? And we just like give them all the squirrel skulls, and that upgrades the shop to give us better stuff. I'm like, all right, at least that's pretty straightforward. But yeah, RPG crafting, depending on how they do it, can be annoying.
Or I just want to say, like,
at least I can afford to ignore it.
I wish someone could just grab the game industry, like by the collar of their shirt, and just shake them and be like, "Cut the craft! Like, stop for a bit. It's okay. We don't need to craft everything." But I don't know, whoever. I feel like it was only gonna get more so.
Yeah, Mario Luigi. I mean, you said it has it, right? I guess it's an RPG.
It does, and it's not like anything crazy or anything like that. And it is an RPG, so it makes sense. It's not like they haven't dabbled in similar like badge systems and sticker systems and stuff in Mario RPGs. But yeah, I was just kind of the second they said craft, I'm like, okay, great.
Do any of the Persona 5 and the Refantagio My metaphor have crafting.
I have still not played Refantasio. I just downloaded it both on my PC and on my Steam Deck, so I
What
will
about
be getting
Persona
that
5?
to. I'll be getting to that shortly. No, Persona 5 has no. Wait, does it have crafting? No, I don't think. No, it doesn't have crafting. Does it have crafting?
I think that you just like never.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
What about you, Kevin? Though, because you're saying like, what do we judge by? Besides, is it just art style, or is there anything else that you tend to
Wow, I didn't expect to go into
There-
a
not
rabbit hole.
like?
There is a band that I refuse to listen to because of their name.
The Naked Brother Band.
What band?
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Oh, that
That
comes up
sounds
at
not
work
real.
often. That surprisingly comes up at work often enough for me to know who they are.
I've
Yeah,
never
I
heard
ref-
of them,
I-
and it sounds like they're a Dr. Seuss book band.
I refuse to listen to them because I hate their name with a passion.
Just imagine
What type of?
what rock would sound like if it came from a high fantasy medieval setting with anime aesthetic.
Well, the thing, the
And they
thing
have
about,
you craft the songs yourself. Yeah.
just FYI, King. I'm just gonna call him King Gizzard from here. King Gizzard has been around since 2012. Let's say 2010. Their first album, 2012. They have 26 albums,
What?
Jesus.
26 studio albums.
What?
I remember
How?
there was a year where they released
trying
like
to break a
5
record?
albums. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they at the start of like 1 year they're like, hey, just FYI, we're gonna release 6 records this year.
Are they like
Eh.
a meme band? Like, are they real?
They are
Or
no,
kinda
they are
tongue-in-cheek?
real. They are real, and they changed up their sound like some like
Huh.
I think they started off as like just a psychedelic band, but then they're like, all right, this album's gonna be garage rock, and then this one's gonna be heavy metal, and we're gonna have a synth pop album, and like
To be
how
honest,
this one's gonna be folk
that's kind
inspired.
of cool.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't disagree. Change your goddamn name, and I will listen to you.
Yeah. I feel like not at that same scale, but I feel like what band is it? Bring Me the Horizon's been trying to slowly do that, where each album of theirs is like leaning more towards a different subgenre of rock. Like they did like a punk album, and then they did like kind of a more electronic infused one. So I think it's cool when a band does that and sort of sets out like, yeah, we're gonna make these ones that are specifically catering to capturing a certain sound. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah,
So-
their name's something. Their name is something.
Yeah, King Gizzard, I refuse. I'm trying to think. What else I judge a book by its cover for when it comes to media.
Yeah, I think
Mm.
anything sports related, like I automatically don't really put on my radar. But
I
like
think
said,
what
like,
related?
unless
I'm
it's
sorry.
anything sports related,
Sports
unless it's like
related, okay.
specifically put on my radar. Like I would not have checked out Blue Lock if it hadn't been for our pilot
Anime
watching
challenge.
experiment.
Yeah.
And even especially Ace of Diamonds, like I mean that show's been around since like 2012 or something. I don't know. It's been around for a while. But I never gave it the time of day because, it's like, oh, it's baseball. But it was recommended by, people that I trust their tastes and stuff like that. And, lo and behold, it's not my favorite anime. Does that mean I'm going to go out and check out every other baseball anime? Hell no. Unless, someone specifically tells me, hey, you should check this one out. Like people have recommended the volleyball one.
Haikyuu?
Yeah, Haikyuu. But not the right people. I don't know if you've recommended it or if you were trying to watch it. I don't remember.
No, my little sister, I think started the manga, but I don't know if she ever actually watched the anime itself.
I hope the people
But
who
you know that-
recommended it to you that are the wrong people are not listening to this and being insulted.
They're the wrong people, but like it puts it on my radar. It's like if I go through all my list and then I'm like, I still need to watch something,
right.
then that's when I'll go after it. But
If you're that wrong people,
it-
you're half right, sort of. In due
yeah,
time.
and it's kind of the reason why I bought the Blu-ray for the first Slam Dunk in human history. Like, because the right person had recommended that one, I just haven't gone around to watching it.
Right. Good save.
I watched that movie over the shoulder of somebody on a plane who had his headphones in. So I was like, that looks all right.
Wait, the whole thing?
No, I think
Oh,
I
that would
noticed
be impressive.
I noticed that he was watching it towards like the very end of it, and then I just saw like the last 15 minutes of the first slam dunk.
That's amazing.
You saw the credits run, you're all like, all right.
All right, I got the gist of it. So this is how Angel consumes
See,
media.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like now you understand
know how I
Angel's
felt
ways.
when I
Yeah.
watched
Yeah.
the last like 15 minutes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sure.
We all know exactly
to be fair, I
how
haven't
you
watched
felt with Falcon and the
anything
Winter
on
Soldier.
Disney Plus lately because of the whole needing to log on in every single YouTube or Wi-Fi account or something along those lines.
What?
What?
It looks like I
you
guess
say
they're
YouTube?
sharing. No. Disney Plus login.
No, I know, but
restrictions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they cracked down on password.
Yeah, I don't
sharing.
know why I said YouTube, but yeah, I said like. But I guess to be fair, I haven't seen anything on Disney Plus, so I guess it's just Netflix and Max.
You're missing the. Well, good thing you have Max because it's not on the docket. I'm just gonna shout out. We can talk about it when it's over. The Penguin on Max, spin-off sequel thing to the Batman movie.
Oh,
Excellent.
any
show.
live action superhero show I automatically dismiss.
Well, don't dismiss this one. It's really good.
Superhero TV
Don't you-
series. I do watch some of the live action movies, but
You watched
more
The
of a
Boys.
group thing. I watched that before I realized that it was based on anything that I knew it was tied to. I guess
Now that's
So
interesting.
had it been a comic, you wouldn't have seen it.
That's fascinating
no,
to me.
I think it's if I guess because I already knew. It's because it's DC, and I already know what my general interest level is for DC. I guess it just so
But it's
happens
not-
that it is
DC because they bought it, but it wasn't DC to
Yeah,
start.
let me take it back because what I said actually doesn't actually represent what I meant. It just so happened to work out that way until you reminded me that The Boys existed. I guess I'm generally not super engaged in a lot of superhero media, or at the very least, when I am, it's like through other people, and if it is, it's usually animated. But usually, like for Batman, I don't care too much for Batman and his world to watch for Gotham. What was this one called? The Penguin.
The Penguin.
To be put up, to make me interested enough to watch it. Even though I watched the Batman, I don't know if I enjoyed it enough to be like, oh, I need to check that out. I didn't bother checking out The Flash, Hood, Smallville, like literally any of those. It's like, oh, do I enjoy Superman? Yeah, I like Superman the animated series, but for some reason, in a live action setting, it just loses some of its appeal to me. Maybe it's just because it is, a fantasy setting. The animation I feel like works in its favor. But even then, it's not like I seek it out. Like, I guess I didn't know anything about The Boys, so I guess whether it was animated or not is irrelevant. All I knew was that you had seen it. I think you recommended it, or my brother.
And he's one of the right
it.
people, so it's okay.
So I did check it out, and I did like it. So like if the right people recommend it, any kind of bias is ignored. I don't know who recommended Invincible. Actually, no, I think I just knew about. No, I had read some of Invincible in the past.
So that to me suggests I'm a wrong person because I don't think you're gonna be watching Penguin, even though I said it's really good. Silence says everything. It's okay. Kevin can be the right person, and I'll be the wrong person. I don't take offense.
No, it's only because I need to have the list like for everything that I recommend that you don't take. I have to erase one from the things you recommend.
It's a tit for tat situation. Okay. Well, here's a tip for the tat. I finished the first season of The Boys per recommendations from you guys, and it's very good.
Did you finish Breaking Bad?
No, because I'm supposed to watch it with you somehow, some way, someday.
I thought you
You ever watched
restarted
Breaking Bad?
I thought you
We
restarted
got
with
through season 5 or 4 and stopped.
I thought you
No, we
restarted
did
with
not.
the wifey.
We did not. Nope, she decided to watch Better Call Saul instead. because she hasn't seen that yet. And I'm like, that's
what?
fair.
Huh.
But has
I
she seen
never
Breaking
finished.
Bad?
Yeah, she's seen it all.
Okay.
I've
I was gonna
never.
say,
No, I know. Yeah, that'd be weird. Otherwise, no, she's
That's
seen
so
all
funny. It's
Breaking
just like
Bad
basically
and all
like,
Better
yeah,
Call Saul.
Jason, sorry, but don't have the patience to wait for you.
Basically, because she held off in Better Call Saul for a while, but I never. Angel and I watched the first 4 or 5 seasons of Breaking Bad, and then COVID hit, and we never got back.
There
to it.
is only 4 seasons. 4 seasons? 5 seasons? There's only 5
I think
seasons.
six.
I think the
So then
fifth
we're
one
on
is going
season
to
4.
two.
So then we're on season 4.
Yeah, we were
but
pretty close to the end.
we were like 15 episodes away, 20 episodes away, maybe. Yeah.
Jesus
Just
Christ.
watch the.
And
the
this is
recap
why he
movie.
doesn't take my Penguin recommendation. It makes sense now.
Why don't you guys
But I
just
did watch
watch
The
them
Boys.
like over the internet together? That's how
'Cause
me
that
and
makes too
that's how me
much
and
sense.
that's how me and Elvis watch anime together. We still haven't finished
could
our
do that.
login, which
We actually
we
could
have
do
to
that.
do.
Yeah.
Something
You're
to
making too
explore.
much sense, Kevin. Maybe that's something to consider.
Yeah, you have Discord now.
Yeah, I mean we've always had Discord, but yeah, we use.
Well, yeah,
Discord
but now we're actually using it to record.
yeah.
Fun
Inside
fact:
baseball listeners,
yep.
yeah, go ahead.
we
Yeah.
used to use a Facebook Messenger for our calls. We're using Discord now because I can actually control the levels that I hear these two. Which Messenger still does not have that option. I don't think Zoom does either.
No, it doesn't. I think it's.
I
a
don't think
Discord thing.
Microsoft Teams has either. So
Neither does Google Meet. For all
or
my
Google
Google
Meet.
Meet
Yeah.
people out there, you
I
know
don't
who
think
you
Slack
are.
does either.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Hey, all 3 of you out there.
Yep. What
My job just transitioned to Zoom. It's been the most infuriating thing.
were you guys on
we-
before?
We were a Teams. We're a Teams.
We've been
place.
consistently Google Meets since the pandemic. It's honestly not bad. It's very lightweight. It's all just web page based.
And now we have transitioned from Slack to, which I never use Slack at work, but now
Yeah,
we
me neither.
use something called Work Vivo.
What?
What? Okay.
Work Vivo
What
Work-
does that sound?
or Work Vivo. I don't know how you pronounce it.
That sounds like a major conglomerate tech company was like, "Oh, we gotta get in on the Slack game," and did it in the most boring corporate way. How accurate am I?
Yeah.
Who owns it? Let's see. I bet you it's like Cisco or something.
I think it's a Zoom. Why did Zoom acquire Work Vivo? Okay, there you go.
So it's Zoom. It's Zoom trying to get in the
It's Zoom.
Slack game.
Mhm.
Yeah. You could tell. When it's a name like that, you could tell. That's one company trying to step into another company's area and use their muscle and size to have a foothold.
They for a brief second they were trying to get me to join Monday.com. Absolutely not. I refuse.
It's an interesting stance to take. I've seen their billboards around.
Oh, and
That's all I
there we
know
go.
about
I
Monday.
judge every project management website just based off the fact that it's a project management website.
As you should. Yeah.
Slack,
That one makes
Monday. Microsoft has their own version of it. But I think that's just integrated into Outlook, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah. We're a Google company, so I win now. I mean, we're not a Google company. We're a company that uses Google's Office Suite, Business Suite. But
Mhm.
Google for Work or whatever they call it. Google Workplace. One of these names is real. I don't know which.
So you guys got anything else that you
Cliffhanger
don't
for
want
next.
to or do you have anything else that you judge a book by its cover for?
Oh, we're still on that. No, that's. I didn't expect to rally against crafting as hard as I did, so that was more than I bargained for or planned to discuss. Yeah.
Okay, that works for me. You, Angel,
Not off the
got
top
your
of
hatred
my
for
head.
RPGs out of your system?
Yeah, I didn't even know it was in there, but I guess it needed to come out, so it was kind of like therapy. Yeah.
Nice. Last but not least, the Switch Online Playtest
We can consider
that we
this.
have no idea what it is.
Yeah. I just said we could consider this sort of a cliffhanger till maybe next episode if I'm allowed to talk about it. But yeah, speaking of Nintendo doing side quests and things you don't expect, because that was kind of the running theme this episode, I feel like. Out of nowhere, they're just like, hey, we have a new Switch Online feature. We're not going to tell you what it is, but come sign up. And if you're quick enough, it's filled up in 15 seconds, but somehow I'm in. I'm with 10,000 people in. So, anyone have any theories what in the final year of the Switch and probably in prep for Switch 2 they could be introducing to their online service that they feel the need to do this playtest for? Because it's very un-Nintendo to do anything like this. And they're also teasing it in their Switch Online newsletter that goes out. They were saying, it's the anniversary of Expansion Pack. Fun new stuff coming next year, or get ready to see what we have next year, or something like they're whatever this is.
The biggest battle royale to date. No, it's literally just going to be we're just trying to improve the quality of our services and whatnot. And it's just going to be log on to your Nintendo account right now, play as you normally do. Okay, are you doing it? Cool. And that's it.
You have to imagine. My thought is, if anything, it'd be dedicated servers. I said something like this online. It's probably dedicated servers or maybe game streaming, so they can be able to. The Switch has an issue of not enough storage in the base model, and you have to get SD cards. Obviously, Nintendo's got to bump that up for Switch 2. It will still not be enough. Nintendo's still cheap, so I could see them trying to angle game streaming for Switch Online members as a way to sidestep storage restrictions. Maybe this is a test for that. I want it to be a Miiverse type of thing again. I want Miiverse 2.0. It won't be, but I want it to be. But what I can tell you, because I've yet to sign anything or click any box that says I can't talk about what I'm going to be playtesting, supposedly it's a 2.2 gig file we will be downloading. So it's not like do your usual thing. It's something inside a special program, a special app on your Switch. So who knows? But it was very strange to see Nintendo just be like, we have a secret. What?
I'm guessing voice chat.
It could be voice chat. Can you imagine all this brouhaha to basically be like, yeah, we move voice chat off the weird phone app onto the Switch itself?
Wow. Actually, that
it probably, knowing them,
plausible.
that seems
maybe
very
that's
plausible.
Kind of messaging system.
Yeah, I do think, or like a party system, or I do think what their flaw here is by being this secretive and by telling. They haven't outright said we can't talk about it, but people have found in the code of the page that there's references to agreeing to not talk about it. The more hush-hush they are, the more mysterious they are, the quicker it's going to leak, and the more disappointed people will be when it's not whatever wild pipe dream like Miiverse 2.0 that we're all thinking, So either it's going to be something boring like voice chat, it's going to be something totally out of left field no one thought of, and there's no in between. It's basically where I'm at. But, it was definitely a strange... The same week to bookend this episode, we got the weirdness of an alarm clock and the weirdness of Nintendo doing a private playtest for the first time, as far as I'm aware. So we'll see. And I have to imagine it'll graft over to Switch 2, whatever they're doing. But it is coming to Switch in its last year. So
Well, it'll be cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what that is. That'll do it for this episode of Randomer Nintendo. Our next episode is in flux. No idea when that's going to release because it's not going to be 2 weeks from now.
Probably not.
We will figure it out. Jason has the keys to the Twitter account. He will update you guys because
live,
Lord knows
probably.
that he won't give me the password to that account.
I don't think you've ever even asked, to be honest.
Probably a good idea.
Okay.
And with that, I'll shoot it over to Jason for the housekeeping.
Oh, yeah. So if you don't want to follow our Twitter account where Kevin doesn't have the keys, another way to make sure you don't miss whenever our next episode hits, which is in flux, is to just subscribe to us on your podcast app. You're probably listening to us on one right now. But Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. We're on YouTube at Random Nintendo. We're at the aforementioned Twitter account at Random Nintendo. Like one way or another, the same way you found this 2-day late episode and are listening to it, you'll find that next episode through these various channels and be able to listen to that too. So, who knows what the playtest will be, but we'll talk about it if we can. Who knows what the alarm clock will be like, but we'll talk about our impressions of that. Like whenever it hits, there should be some stuff for you guys, hopefully, that you enjoy. So back to you, Karen.
Yeah. It'll be cool to see if I'm still playing Rivals of Ether 2 after a month, or if it's just going to
actually, that'd be interesting.
Smash clone.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, we have a lot of
topics for next episode.
Yeah, it sounds like we have a lot of next time on Randomer Nintendo type of situations. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And until then, final word goes to Angel.
Watch Look Back.